Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of the Conversation Capital. Today with me, we've got Thabo Gabanakgosi, and behind the camera, the voice of reason, we've got Boiboi with me as always. Yay! Welcome to the Conversation Capital. Today we're chatting all things to do with women empowerment and men's readiness to accept that. So if you're wondering, how do you get on the Conversation Capital? I've got something to talk about. It's actually quite simple. Talking of Thabo's story, Thabo put up a tweet responding to another post on Facebook. And then Bongo then posted and I was like, I want this guy on Conversation Capital. I want to talk to him. I want to get his opinion on this because it was just so interesting. And so just to bring you into what he had said and the direction that we're going today. So the post had asked, why aren't marriages lasting like our grandparents' generation? Thabo then responded and he said, my view has been society is taking time to empower young girls to become sufficiently independent women. Yet no one is taking the time to teach young boys how to live with an empowered woman. I could elaborate on this further, but ultimately you have women raised not to tolerate what their mothers had gone through and men that still want to apply traditional roles as seen from their fathers. Both sides reach an impasse.
Yep.
I feel like we need to include a screenshot of that.
Of that, yeah. And then people can pause
depth,
and read it.
Pause and read it and process it. Yeah.
And so we're definitely going to start at point number one. You say that I could elaborate. And so, yeah, we're reading through it, but to break it down, why don't marriages last long like our grandparents did? And Thabo says we've got a society that keeps empowering women, but we're not empowering men to deal with these empowered women, or we're not teaching men how to deal with these empowered women. And so now they're getting to these, impasse. Yeah. So they're getting to these roadblocks where it's like, okay, we're at loggerheads. And the part where you say, I could elaborate more, here's your opportunity.
So, I mean, it's simple, right? We are realizing as we get older that it takes longer and longer for us to get married. But not only that, we have the stats on the divorce rates, and we see that they're increasing over time. And I think one of the most interesting points from the stats I say was the fact that black young couples, their marriages last for about 2 to 3 years, and about 70% end up divorcing by year 5. So you ought to ask what happened in the process, And it's identifying the fact that there's differences in how we view things. Young black girls are encouraged by their mothers and possibly their fathers to go study further, to better themselves, so that they don't experience what their mothers went through. Boys are sort of put to the side. No one is actually saying, how do we empower young black boys to be able to deal with the fact that women are being empowered? And, we come up with, myself included, I have an expectation that my partner needs to be very traditional, submissive, and, but you can't necessarily have that in a household where both people, for example, are working. So that, there's an impasse there. I can't expect you to cook. I can't expect you when I come home to find a homely place, but at the same time, we both working and we're both chasing our careers. So that's where it came from.
Sure. I mean, I hear you. I hear you. And as you're saying like the statistics, I can actually think of one couple that got married at a young age in my friendship group that made it. And the truth is, the girl wasn't working for the longest time. She recently got a job. So the man is leaps and bounds ahead of her with regards to career. So it makes me wonder if this is a true statement. Is it easier to deal with her because she's not at his level? And so for a long time, she was actually a housewife. And so, I mean, as a woman who is empowered, yes, darlings, I am empowered. I will say that, everyone wants to say, oh, you're not married because you're such a strong woman, because Onaldi Masters will be the PhD, what kind of man, whatever. You mustn't be too clever. How we see men don't like those things. And for the longest time, I'll tell you that it did frustrate me. I was like, what the hell? And Chimamanda Ngozi says the same thing, really. We teach women to shrink themselves, that long speech in You Wake Up Flawless, right? and she talks about, basically teaching women to shrink themselves. And I could relate to that thing because my whole life it's been here when you've got too much of an opinion, and it's not going to come in handy when it's time for you to get married. And I hate that when I actually started taking the advice, I started getting into successful relationships where I could out of this guy no, when you can hear and babes. Whereas younger Ursula would have been like, that's nonsense. Let me school you, actually. And thinking that, we would like laugh about it, about, oh, babe, that's, But the truth is, I'm yet to come across a guy who's actually that confident and comfortable in himself to take man, it doesn't work like that. Actually, this is how it works. And a guy that's actually, so I can't help but agree with what you're saying, that men just don't like him.
And you also have to sort of remember the history that we come from as South Africans, right? Obviously, as a black society, we come from an environment where we're disadvantaged. And then there was this thing called affirmative action that was put into place. And what that meant basically was the fact that black women will be prioritized first and a white man will be prioritized second from a employment perspective. And as black women, they obviously took the opportunity. And my view is that we are realizing that in South Africa, black women tend to be more successful than men. There was actually a stat that was released that there are more black girls in varsity than there are black males.
And property owners, in fact, black women.
Yes, there's a recent study that showed that black ladies are owning more and more property. We don't do that, right? We want to spend our money on alcohol. We want to spend our money on impressing the ladies, but ladies are pursuing their master's degrees. They're pursuing their studies, and that disconnect as well, where a woman becomes more empowered, sort of makes it look like we're not ready to actually deal with the fact that
but what
ladies are more successful.
What does empowering men look like, or preparing men for being empowered look like? Like, what does it look? How do you? Let's say I have a son one day. How do I say your wife might be kick-ass and you should be okay with it? Like, how do you teach a man that? What should society do? Where do we start?
Just let's break the boundaries. Let's break the traditional norms that we have. I think one of the most iconic sort of setups is the relationship that Oprah has with
Stedman.
Yeah,
My favorite.
Accept the fact that a woman can be more successful than you,
but Stedman Lena asilos lapi, guys. He's just not as rich as Oprah, but he's also got quite a bit of coins.
Yeah. So what does that mean?
For me, there's always like a threshold.
Yeah.
It's like you must be intelligent enough. You must be rich enough. It's not like Oprah went and dated.
I know.
What was on 7? You know what I'm saying? There, Oprah still went she got above the threshold.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like it's tricky because, if you look at her relationship with the guy, I forgot the name.
Oprah's boyfriend. How powerful is that? Oprah's partner. That's normally how women would be explained. But now it's on the other side.
It's like that Jay-Z and Beyonce line.
Yes.
Beyonce's husband.
Yes.
Whoever that guy is.
Yeah.
But you need to be able to accept the fact that a woman can be more powerful than you. And maybe that's how we can start.
It's tricky because I will be honest. I always say things that reveal that I'm actually a bit problematic in my thinking, and maybe it's the honesty.
I know that's why we have these conversations.
It's the honesty that one needs to have. Personally, I always say my husband, future husband, is Mr. Level Up. He's better than me. He levels up physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And it's a problematic way of thinking, right? But I actually don't want a partner that actually,
isn't doing better than you.
Yes, because I don't want to deal with, what's all handle, babe? You're doing well, babes. Here's a naughty badge, babes. I don't want to go through that.
Why, though?
maybe I'm problematic. Why do I not want to go through it? I think it's exhausting. I just want my guy to be confident. So if he's not going to be Mr. Level Up, at the very least, he should be very confident in himself.
Absolutely.
You know, because I don't want to go through the reassuring.
And having to push him to do better.
Maybe push him to do better. Let's just say he's doing okay, you know. But the whole having to
reassuring
myself.
and reassuring someone
reassuring
constantly
is a bit difficult because I mean, you reassure somebody to say, no, man, you are doing well, but like reassuring in the sense that I need to now shrink myself and my achievements can't be celebrated because I need to be cognizant that this is going to make him feel small. That's exhausting.
Yeah.
Surely that's exhausting. I can't go through that. You know, I don't want to go through that. You know, I don't want to go through that. So for me, the quick solution is actually just have your things together.
So that I don't have these issues.
So that I don't need to go
and
through
that could be the outlook of men as well. Like, I want a woman in a particular position because I don't want to have the issues of the queen bee, how they call this.
If you guys don't mind me asking, then are you guys comfortable being with someone who's ultimately less successful than you and be comfortable with the fact that he's probably not going to be more successful or more moneyed or...
I think it would be very short-sighted of me to not be comfortable because I actually think I'm going to do very well. Boom. Don't say it and tell y'all. I actually do believe that I'm going to do very well. I hope that my future person really also does very well. But that can't be, but my thing is it can't be me now not being able to do well because that's the more important question for me. Is it that this guy does not want me to do well, or is it that this guy is so confident that it's okay that I do well and I do better
for
than
me
him?
That's the marker. Like, I just want you to be okay with the type of partner you're with. I don't be so content in where you are. For my shine also reflects on you, like that's my person, you know. It's not you feeling like less than because of my achievements. No, I just want someone who's comfortable with where they are. So what you're talking about in terms of, for example, like having a discussion with a guy and then needing to voice out, oh no, actually that's not true. We can even Google it. Like, I want you to be so comfortable in learning from me. So I don't want to have to reassure you and you know.
Because I also I would like to be a housewife and a house husband, sorry. And my wife is comfortable with that. I'm not married. I'm just saying, like, I would like to be in a position where that is possible and it doesn't take away from whatever you are going through. And again, that's what I was basically trying to imply by the fact that there's a gap between female empowerment or women empowerment and how we perceive what a relationship should be. You know, it might hurt my ego a little bit that my partner takes out her card and pays for the food, but that should be fine as well.
Or how for credit card? I'm sure Oprah offers statement credit card was it?
Oprah, there's
so many
guys, there's so many girls who do that because they don't want their men to appear in a particular way. A lot of girls do that. Also, I think what this conversation does, it just points out to how we view masculinity and how problematic that is. Because just a guy wanting to be a stay-at-home dad, like, what's the issue with that? Why is his masculinity connected with what he can do?
As I said, for me, it definitely is one of two options. Either you're Mr. Level Up and you're doing significantly better than me, or you're so confident that I don't need to stick around and reassure you while I start climbing to the top. Like, for me, you can't have best of both. Yes, Kif.
While you guys are on this topic, first of all you niggas who want to be stay-at-home dads, for me personally, I think that to an extent is irresponsible because the South African economy needs to be stimulated. Right? We have too many unemployed people. The economy cannot afford that. I'm not trying to say that you have no right to be. I'm just trying to say that the country, unfortunately,
on a grander scale,
the uber rich are leaving the country and going to these fancy countries. So for the bigger picture, personally, I think that you might not be going to a 9-to-5, but at the very least, in the era that we live in, you're able to work from home. You understand? And another thing I was thinking of is this, for me, I think with the person I'm with, it's okay for you to have insecurities. It's okay for you to have issues with your weight. It's okay for you to have issues with but you have to keep them under control. What I'm trying to say about that is, in as much as you yourself have certain insecurities, you must understand that men generally have certain we have certain insecurities within ourselves, and it doesn't make me a bad man for being insecure about you earning more money. It does make me a bad man if I abuse you for having more money or for being a person of stature and being well respected here and there. That makes me a bad man. But for having it as an insecurity, we all have insecurities, you know?
Sure. You know, in a moment of vulnerability, I'm even thinking of something very close to home. I recently was upset over a tweet that my partner had put up. I thought he was referring to my weight, and it turns out it had nothing to do with weight at all. And he was just talking about feminism, and he's a bit of a weird person. And it just showed the insecurities that I have, right? And when Given says, keep your insecurities like under
In control.
In control.
It's like when
because
you...
we all have,
And those things happen a lot.
Yeah.
Where you post something unrelated to someone who's told you something,
but
and the
someone's
person views it at
insecurities.
them.
Yes.
You speaking
you know,
to them.
Yes, and it's so much more difficult when you're in an intimate relationship with the person. But you see it with even day-to-day friends. Friends that think you're talking about wakobisa. Hey, dude, I'm putting up a tweet here, okay? You know, I could be going through my own motions. And you know, insecurities are the make or break of many relationships. And it can be so difficult. It can be... it can be so difficult. And you know, I get what Given is saying with regards to whether it's a rich man or a rich woman, but being in a place where you know how to be a good person.
Yeah.
Yes,
but just, if I could just add, I'm always a bit skeptical about, yes, I understand the economy is a bit tough, you know, but relationship dynamics should maybe not necessarily dictate...
Be dictated by the economy.
By the economy, you know, because yes, we still need to eat, and we still need to, you know, pay rent and whatever. But the dynamics should always sort of be independent from what's happening because economic situations will always fluctuate, will always change. But yeah, love should be something a bit more
Separate.
I really do hear you, because I hear what you're saying with regards to the general outside argument. Like for me at work, I'm a feminist number one. Boom. Like, no, treat me equally, treat me fairly. But in a relationship, I don't necessarily see it the same way. Because I'm actually not so much of a feminist in my personal capacity. Because I like to be treated and spoiled. And feminists don't get spoiled, by the way, if you don't know.
And that's why I'm asking if you would be comfortable being with someone who's actually comfortable being a house husband, because you know, the femininity and the fact that you want to be spoiled as a woman entails the fact that, you know, guys will continually do what they're currently doing, and that's, you know, try to splurge and show off.
Well, okay, we're answering the question now. We're answering the question now. Would I be with a house husband? It's definitely a no from me. And I'm going to tell you why it's a no. I don't know how well I would have to be doing, because for nna ke morwalo ntwe, it's just a burden. Ke nka inflation strateng, ke tlisa ka tlung. Huko. No, I wouldn't personally, unless maybe I'm Oprah. That's another story. Unless I'm Oprah and my money is wakaditsebing, then we can talk again, because I don't think Stedman needs to work for their relationship to work.
No, absolutely.
You know, definitely, I'm sure money is not a concern for their relationship. No. And so maybe I would have to be at that place financially to really be like, but personally, no. Where I stand now, I need a partner. Like a partner even financially, like support, man. Matusana, tag team, you know. So I can't imagine taking on a financial burden, such a huge financial burden by myself. And you, Bonga, would you?
Can you want to say
Yes,
something?
yes.
For me, like we were saying earlier, it just sucks that the economy will kind of determine how the love works. You know? It's just so sad. Like, why can't we just be... capitalism has ruined relationships, honestly.
That's the truth. But this is the reality we live in, where money is an issue.
Money is an issue. And apart from money also, like men, because now in a relationship I have a big mouth, shame. I have a big mouth, and I will call you out on your issues, and they don't like that.
Not
Like
at
they
all. No,
get,
not at
and it's
all.
not even just men. Like in general, when you tell someone, "Oh, listen, I don't like 1, 2, 3," they don't take it as, okay, let me take a step back and
Try to
think
work
about
on-
this. Like maybe my reaction to this is actually something psychological that I haven't dealt with, emotional that I haven't dealt with. They take it as a personal attack. It's like now you have like could be you're big those people. So like it's exhausting trying to balance the whole. Gabo, it's the economy. Gamo, it's we are trying to love each other. Gamo, we all have burdens and things that we haven't dealt with. And because now, I mean, I've gone to a mental hospital and I know how to handle my emotions. I know when I react this way, it's this and this and this. I can pick it up in other people too, and I'll be like, okay, so you are reacting this way to the situation, and this is this is you venting, and you're asking me for advice. When I give you the advice of a woman that is empowered, they take it hubby. It's like you're belittling me. The masculinity is now threatened.
Yeah. So, I think one of the big issues, like you're saying, is that disconnect between men that are not being empowered, and there's so much focus on women. Let's be honest. Everyone's looking at the girl. Empower the girl child. Empower the girl child. But like you're saying, nobody's saying, hey, empower the boy to deal with this empowered woman. And we can't take away from the fact that economies have a certain role to play. Because the truth is, like I said, I'm not going to bring inflation into the house. This is my reality. Somebody else can say, I actually can afford to bring inflation into the house. What I need is a hug when I get back from work. And maybe that's your girl. I'm not that girl, though.
And that's okay.
Yes, and that's okay, And like you're saying, Kanye, that capitalism has made it almost impossible for it just to genuinely just be about love, without thinking of other factors like finances and emotional
also
stability.
another thing that was my train of thought in the process was the fact that because no one is actually sort of empowering or teaching the young black boy to deal with this empowered woman, it still continues, it perpetuates this idea that men remain abusive. Because men are incapable of communicating. They don't have a platform to have a conversation. They don't know how to do that. And they continually then, unfortunately, continue to abusing the woman because they feel like their masculinity was taken away from them, which, it's unfortunate.
Interesting how Thabo speaks to the fact that men don't know how to, because I wanted to backtrack to Kanye's point in terms of if I bring something forward, then you come up with a defense mechanism, or you think I'm pointing out or attacking something about you. But what I think, and why in this conversation I'll almost be like the devil's advocate, is that I don't think men need that training or so forth or awareness. I believe men are not willing. And they're not teachable, because we've been saying, like, till this day we're having the conversation, men are trash, ne? And so many other men, there's men who hear us, and then there's men who don't want to hear us. I don't feel like, even in relationships, this comes up a lot, I don't feel like men want to do the labor of getting to know the other side, of getting to know the empowered women, of getting to know, because we say these things, we do these things, and I don't know if men, and I think it's largely rooted in our culture and just how we function, or how society functions, or patriarchy and how it functions. I don't think they are willing to make the work.
Because you
Give
must
or
remember-
tabo, give or give in.
No, but you must remember that this is a system that benefits them for the most part. I mean, the patriarchy does have its disadvantages for men. Like you can't
Fully disagree.
You can't be a stay-at-home husband that easily. Yeah.
I fully disagree.
Yes.
I fully disagree with that, patriarchy benefits the man, because it benefits a certain elite men. Most of us, we're not. And I don't know, maybe if Given might agree with me, but I often find that, like again, affirmative action puts the black woman in front. We are incapable of communication. Yes, there's certain places, for example, in a relationship that I feel, like I'm glorified. But in the most part, I have to work harder just so you can recognize me as a man. And it's not, it doesn't benefit me. It benefits a man who's rich, maybe, but not a normal, guy, wakukasi. It doesn't, in my view.
I don't take away that you still do have benefits, but I don't take away from the fact that you also have disadvantages. Patriarchy does. The fact that when a black man walks into a room, whichever country in the world you are in, they are deemed a danger. Prisons across the world are full of black men. Even if you probably go to a prison in Europe, where 99.9% of the population is white, but in the prison, there's 50% black, you know what I mean? And that's what makes it difficult, Kanye.
But now I agree with Thabo Gabanakgosi, but I don't think patriarchy benefits anybody. Like,
Sure.
I honestly don't think patriarchy benefits men, because it's broken them. It's broken them. Like, they're forced to fit into this thing.
This mold.
And then we end up having to do... So now when you're an empowered woman, you have a job, you have to work hard. How fitla high, go it's the kids and the cooking and everything, and also the emotional labor, because like he said, men don't have that platform to communicate. They don't have the skills to communicate sometimes as well, emotionally.
Okay, but then
So
the opposite of that would be, you're a man, you work hard at work because you're a man and you're probably going to get a promotion before your female counterpart. That's a benefit. The second benefit would be that you get home, you don't have to deal with the kids and the laundry and whatever, it just needs to be done. The plate needs to be on the table. That's a benefit. So for me, but I hear what you're saying, that they're broken. They don't know how to shout at the top of their lungs and say, I'm actually suffocating.
Sorry,
And they don't want to.
can I put a spanner in the works?
Yes.
Maybe men are successful because they don't have to, how can I put this? They're not the ones who get pregnant.
Indeed.
No, definitely.
And I'm more reliable to my employer than
100%.
than a female who somewhere along the line is going to take 4, 5, 6 months away from work, and I have to find a replacement for her. Maybe that's why I'm more successful, But that's just just a spanner in the works.
No, definitely. I mean, I look at somebody very close. I don't know if she'll feel comfortable if I mention who she is to me. But somebody at work, she was asking for your annual raise and negotiating with her line manager. And her line manager said, you're not married, you don't have kids. I don't understand what you need the money for. How dare you? How dare you say that?
That's actually something Oprah's faced as well.
Yes, it's disgusting, but that's the reality of the work environments women face versus men. No, nobody cares whether a man has a wife and kids, guys. When it's time for a raise,
In fact, in the work environment, if you are married as a man and you have kids, you're seen to have more responsibilities. Therefore, you're way more deserving. Of
it's the contrapositive for women. You're more likely to be successful if you're single.
And it's often the question, I should be honest, even like in my workplace, like, do you plan on falling pregnant? Haha, just kidding, but I'm also asking. I'm like, what?
I said they are.
What? Yeah, they are asking, but they make it seem like they're not asking. Anyway, we definitely have run out of time. Unfortunately, that was today's episode of The Conversation Capital. And that's the thing, the conversations never end on like some solemn note because there's always just different layers to different conversations. And I'd love to hear from you. Please make sure that you drop us your comments in the comment box. Let us know what you think. Let us know if you think men are ready. Let us know if you think women are too empowered. We really want to hear from you, and we will catch you next week. For now, though, goodbye and God bless.